And I'm not gonna do that here. What was it like? What happened? What it's like now? Simplest form, I was a hopeless, helpless drunk. What happened? God led me to AA. And today, my life couldn't be more wonderful. I found love. I didn't find what the 24-hour book says here, sympathy. My sponsor said, you want sympathy, look at the dictionary. It's between self-pity and syphilis. So, this isn't easy. Started drinking around 12 years old. Everyone in their family drank, except my grandmother. She had medicine. I was about 30 before I realized Christian Brothers brandy wasn't really medicine. So, our medicine all the time was tea and whiskey, That isn't what made me an alcoholic. This thing in here. Went to a Catholic grammar school, did pretty good. You had to apply to go to Catholic high school. And Leo High School only accepted 300 kids a year in Chicago. I was accepted into Leo High School. But the report cards had two sides. One side pretty good, the other side not too good. There was always my problem, the other side. Went to Leo High School. After being with the nuns for 8 years, was there about 2 months, and I decided I didn't like the gym outfit, so I went to St. Rita High School, because I liked their gym outfit better. I was never happy. The point is, I was never happy. And I always wanted to be somewhere else, or doing something else. So I was there about a year, and I didn't like it. And there was a public high school, but it had girls in it. And by that, 13, 14, puberty is really something to deal with. So I went there, didn't like the school, them telling me what to do. And I joined the Army at 16. I did good in basic training and did everything they said. I went to jump school, and the sergeant came in and he said, I was 5'5" and 117 pounds. And the drill sergeant said, you little shit, you're gonna jump on the airplane and go up. And I never had fear like that in my life. I'm thinking, where would I go? Do I put rocks in the thing or what? So I called home and I said, Ma, will you send my real birth certificate now? I don't want to play Army anymore. Came home, but then I turned 17 and then I enlisted in the Army to drink. No other reason, no patriotism whatsoever, nothing. It was just, I wanted to drink. It was my everything. So I got in the Army, then my first major disappointment with the military life is all the beer was 3-2 beer. Which is not, it doesn't do it. After the Army, got home, we in the military, this time I went clerical and I was wearing all ID. So I became pretty good at it, and that transferred over to civilian life. I got a lot of years to go through, guys. I'm 80 years old. And what a poor memory. Was doing good again, doing really well, until one night there was a fight outside the EM club, and a lieutenant come up and he said, I'm a lieutenant in the United States Army, I want to see your ID card. So I turned around and belted him, but I also had a big mouth. And with my big mouth, I'm in the barracks bragging, yeah, I knocked him on his ass, all this, that, and the other. When I turned around, the two biggest MPs in the world you ever saw, and the lieutenant with a big black eye, would you care to repeat that? And I said, I didn't do it. I did. It wasn't me. So I got a court martial. This is only with a couple of months till my ET to come home. Got good duty. I was in Heidelberg, Germany. No wartime experience. They sentenced me to 6 months at hard labor, reduced pay and rank. And again, I caught a break and didn't realize it was a break. They suspended that sentence. They gave me 3 months extra duty, 4 hours a night. And I did pretty good for 89 nights. Again, almost time to capitalize, to do cash in. On the 89th night, I went to jumped over the fence or got out somehow and went to the gas house, a little German tavern restaurant. And I couldn't wake up for reveille the next morning because I was so drunk. So they suspended the suspension and they locked me in a stockade in Frankfurt, Germany. The very first night in the jail, this guy says, "I'm leaving tomorrow and I work in the kitchen, you want my job?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You got 4 packs of Luckies?" And I had a carton with me for my incarceration. Gave him 4 packs of cigarettes. He said, "All right, you're a trustee." Another break, but not realizing. So I did, we could stay in the kitchen all night long. We didn't have to go to our cells. We had private showers, the cream of the crop. And you have an in, when you're serving food in prison or jail, everybody's sort of polite to you, you know, because they want the job. 27 days into my jail, back into the jail time, they let me out. Full honorable discharge. I don't know how that happened, really. So the higher power is working. I got out, and I think about 2 or 3 years, and my dad said, "When are you going to work?" And I said, "Well, I'm having a little trouble adjusting to military, to civilian life." So it was constant drinking, not working. But I got a job at J.C. Penney's. You stuck me with this hour, so. I got a job at J.C. Penney's computer section. So again, you start putting it all together. I'm making it work every day, and I was working an entire shift on my own in the computer section. Every piece of paper that came out of J.C. Penney Midwest, I would produce the printers and all, every machine. And one of the bosses came in, and he said, "Bob, if you go to school for a year to get a degree, a business administration degree," he said, "we'll give you your own office in Atlanta or San Francisco, your choice." So, again, being right there, on the way to the top, the path upward that he talks about. The next morning, they found me drunk, passed out on the computer room floor. Now, you know, let's get this bum out of here. So I didn't work for maybe 3 or 4 more years at all, just drink continuously. Then I met my wife. It was a table like this, she was sitting at the end of the table, Valentine's Day, 1972. She had kisses sweeter than wine, and she was a heavy hitter. I mean, we were made for each other. I walked up and I said, "You got 5 minutes to fall in love." And we're still together today. But now comes, that was the sweetie romantic part. Then came the drinking, the fighting, the jealousy, the possessiveness, the raging storms. And we'd split up and then back together, and then I promised all my promises that I didn't know I couldn't keep. I thought if I promised something, I could keep it. Powerless. And we'd get back together and then we'd drink, and it was just that endless cycle. Boom, boom. Here comes the tough part. Tough part. She got pregnant, and with Paul Anka's song, "Having My Baby" and all. You guys gotta help me here. And we got in a big argument on a Sunday morning, and she ran out of the house, and she was 5.5 months pregnant, and her placenta separated. So she called me from the hospital because she had run away again. and she said, they want, come to the hospital. I got there and the OB guy said, we're gonna have to decapitate the baby, because she's only 5 centimeters. And being an alcoholic, the only thing I could do is I ran to my uncle's house because he had a half gallon of Sunday whiskey under his cabinet. And I drank as much as I could, as much as they hit allow, and I go back to the hospital. You can't describe what goes on there. And I get to the elevator and he's coming off the elevator and he says, it's all up to the pediatrician now. And I'm thinking, what are you trying to drive me nuts? So I go up and the baby was born, 1.5 pounds, beautiful. So we're here, we had our baby. And the nurse comes in and says, he's gonna die in 53 hours because his lungs are developed. By this time, it was instant want to shoot your brains out. Feeling the guilt of anything I had done. Watch shoot for 53 hours, fighting for life, and I'm thinking I'm throwing mine away. There were 4 major suicide attempts after that. Thank God I had been to AAA in 1975. My wife and I had the Mexican stand-up. She wouldn't marry me drunk and I wouldn't marry her sober. So I said, I got a plan. I'll go to AAA, get married, and then I'll drink. Good plan. And it worked out a little bit. But what happened is I was sober for the first time in my life on Thanksgiving, got married in November, Christmas, and New Year's. You people entirely screwed up my drinking. You could. So again, I go out, boom, boom. I was overdosed on 200 pills. And they couldn't bring me back. They told the wife, called the funeral home. She said a priest came in, threw the holy water on me, and here comes Goofy again, round 2. Coming out of it, here you try to end the pain some way other than alcohol, so it stop working. And you're alive 2 seconds and their pain it's all right there. It's still there. And speaking of pain, to lighten it up a little bit, we went to this bar and restaurant, and this guy came in with this little tiny monkey, about this big, crazy little monkey, drinking people's drinks, and he grabbing food, patting ladies on the butt. A typical drunken monkey. He jumps on a pool table, and he swallows the cue ball whole.
Oh my God.
The bartender, get that crazy monkey out of here. You know, live story. Guy comes back in the next night with the same little monkey. He said, what? I don't want him in here. He said, you got a little popcorn, watch this. He gets popcorn.
Oh my gosh.
He said, what the hell is he doing now? He said, well, ever since he passed that cue ball, he measures everything before he eats. So pain makes us see things a little differently than we usually do. Pain. If the pain's about, Gibran said it, pain is the only instrument sharp enough to carve out the vessel which will contain your joy. And we go around with all the barbed wire in us and ground glass, and AA comes along and sort of smooths out, sands down the edges, picks up the glass and puts it all back together. have known joy like few people. Doctors told us she'd never have, I had to lighten it up. They told us then we'd never have a child. And my wife, they were gonna do a total hysterectomy in 1975. So we gave up, I gave up any hope of having a child, and she said, God answers all prayers. Well, by that time she had a little bit of AA as an Alvin. And she said, God answers all prayers, yes, no, and not yet. And she held on to it. She's like, we'll have a baby. Will. Her faith through the roof. The only faith I had is if I sat on a stool, I wouldn't fall on my ass. You know, that was about it. I like you. You're helping. So having entirely given up, I just humored the older girl. We had a real long break of about 8 months. And I didn't go save her this time or try to promise or try to get her home and all this stuff. And she called me, which she had never done before. She was expecting me to go, no. So she calls me and I said, Shirley, you don't need me, you need God in AA. Because I was always the alcoholic, not her. And thank God she came to the realization she currently has, as of September, 47 years of sobriety. So, we're getting back, so I accepted the fact we'd never have a child, and that didn't help with the guilt and remorse either of losing a child. I have never asked one thing of God other than sobriety, another day of sobriety, ever. In 1981, after 4 years of sobriety, I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't know she was gonna have cancer, she's gonna die, she's gonna live. And I figure she's deluded, you're not gonna have a baby. How many doctors have to tell you? And I don't know if I lost it or gained something. Because I hit my knees. I said, please God, if it's in the cards, let us have a baby, if it's good for us. And that was in October of 81. And in July 27th, at 7:27, God sent that little jet, my little daughter, against all odds. I hear joy. Yeah, what do you mean joy? What is that? Some sissy thing or something? When I held her, I never cried so far in my life, but I never felt so good. It was very, my joy became complete. Now I had the overdose and I was pronounced dead in St. Francis Hospital. My son in 1982 was born in St. Francis Hospital at 11/11 on Easter Sunday. I don't deserve any of this. I have my little boy, Cindy, the family. And then, so it was please God, send kids. So I had our third baby, and it was please God, no more. We were outnumbered. You know, she'd take one, I'd take one, and boom, then we got diddle. And the reason we got diddle is my wife, for our last daughter, the doctor didn't show up. And she's on the table and doing, any lady here who's had a child knows that's some kind of pain. And she tore wide open. She had a dry birth. It took 150 stitches to put her back together again. And sew her up and everything. My daughter was born green, they had a baker, it was traumatic. And the OB guy comes in, I said, where were you? He said, well, I had a car accident. I don't have to tell you anything. How you tell a madman this? was going through this stuff. And I started to follow him out of the hospital. And the security guard came up, so I went to work. Thank God there was a phone booth. Without a phone, I would have been dead years ago. I stopped at the phone booth, at the phone thing, and I called my sponsor. And Jack was this big, beautiful Irish guy. And he was always happy. I called him, I said, Jack, I'm gonna kill this son of a gun. Shoot him. And I told him what happened. He's Bob. Talk to your sponsor, no matter what, talk to your sponsor. And he said, right, he said, get him tomorrow. Go up, see how your wife and your baby are doing. And he said, the real reason you're upset, Bob, is because you're not gonna get any for about 6 weeks. Saved my life. Because he broke whatever. My sponsors never told me one thing to do. But they would help me clear up my thinking where I could make better decisions. Because most of my choices were out of turn. Since then, oh man, half hour to go. We were living in the middle class. Well, number one, when my wife and I got here, we were living in the car. When we got to AA finally. We used to go to meetings. We would there was no money whatsoever, no jobs, no work. And we go to meetings, and I'd say to Shirley, anybody bring cookies? We had no food for 9 days. We went to Operation Push, Judge C. Jackson's, where they hand out the stuff. And I got a big giant box of food. And I said, we're in high cotton now. But I'm from Chicago, remember, and I never heard of grits in my life. And he gave us a giant box of grits and a little jar of peanut butter. So for the next 9 or 10 days, we had fried grits, boiled grits, grits with grits, grits with no grits. And then I tried grits with peanut butter, and all they did was stick to the roof of my mouth. So it was, I couldn't, John. So finally, we're leaving Chicago, we drove down and stopped at a Cracker Barrel. And the woman asked the question, she says, do you want hash browns or grits? I said, I'm not gonna like Tennessee all that much. But I got where I like grits. We left Chicago because a gang of Latin 2-6ers tried to initiate my 10-year-old daughter into the gang. And what they did to her, I couldn't reconcile when I got home. Went bonkers, go to police, we're gonna make out a police report, and the guy said, I want you to think first before you make out the report. You live at the end of a dead-end street. He said, you will spend the rest of your life on your front porch with a shotgun, because they will come for you. So, we had family here in Tennessee, thanks God. I had them moved out within a month, and I was driving back and forth to Chicago, loading the van, carrying our stuff back and forth. That too turned good because we met people like Cindy. And I don't know if you call it a culture thing. You grow up thinking one way and you think, I'll never think another way. Thank God again for AA with that. We open our minds. I was able to open mine and accept people as they were, good and bad and ugly. I said the other night at a meeting, I love every single person in this room. How could I not? You saved my life. You gave me choice. You showed me love. All I can do is try to show some of that back through. Best description I ever heard of love, and if this is an AA in a nutshell, I don't know what it is. Love is the willingness to nurture one's own or another's spiritual growth. Sponsor. I had no. All my sponsors through the years have died now because I was 30 years old, 32 when I got here, and I'm 80, so they're long gone. But they're in there. The little owns this, that. I had a big problem with guilt, rightly so. And I said to my sponsor, it's like I'm my own judge, jury, and executioner. And he said, Bob, you have the perfect defense. Plead insanity, you little asshole. So, oh, sure, sorry. I like you more. My sponsor volunteered me to go to Stateville Prison as a volunteer. After a couple of years, they made me the liaison for Stateville Prison. There were 1,400 prisoners at the time. 1,100 of them had done the dirty deed, killed someone one way or another. The other guys would say, well, you know, my friends outside of AA, why do you go out there? It's because they're the best friends I've ever had. They're doing time for me. How many times I could have been arrested, locked up, boom, boom. But I gotta tell the story. I promised JD I'd tell the story. And it takes up a little time too. JD was sentenced to 14 years in Joliet prison, which is in downtown Joliet. Last 7 years of his incarceration, he didn't drink or do a drug at all. Completely dry. Him and another guy got out the same day, and they said, let's stop for one drink. JD and the other guy went for one drink, one night. He said he woke up next morning covered in blood. And he said to Jelly, he's the jailer, he said, what'd I do? He thought it was rape or something because he hadn't been with a lady in a long time. He said, you stabbed the guy you were with about 44 times. We're still counting the holes in this guy. And JD said, it's the only way I know how my experience might help others. He said, I'm in this black box for the rest of my life for 5 minutes, I can't remember. My best friend. So after a couple of years being the liaison, the thing you didn't want to hear is a volunteer because you really got looking forward to meeting with these guys. We had one other guy, he was going to commit suicide, he said. But one of the other guys said, you ought to try an AA meeting. These guys are all right. He was a short timer. He had 16 years sentence. Yeah. He said, I was going to kill myself. He said, if I came in here and met you AA guys, he said, I can do one day at a time, but I can't do 16 years. One day. He got the message that we carry. We're not healers, we carry a healing message. Who knows who needs to hear it? And the last I knew, I don't know how much longer he had, but by then I had 3 kids and more responsibilities. And my sponsor thought it'd be a good idea, seeing how I was in 4 mental institutions, against my will, that I started doing work in the Moccasin Bend up north. Yeah. And I had escaped from there once. Yeah, my wife had me locked up. I said, I'm not staying here. And they had a big security door and said, if you go out this door, the buzzer's gonna ring. I said, no, it won't. And I walked out, and I stood under a sign that says, do not pick up hitchhikers. And this guy come to a screeching halt. True story. He said, get in, get in, get in. And I said, he's a little over anxious here tonight. But it's a long walk. He's, I'll give you $500 if you burn down my wife's house.
Okay.
They got me gone. I said, give me your number. I said, as soon as I kill all my in-laws, I'll get back with you. So, my wife's family was from Tennessee, and you all carry a lot of guns down here. And he gave, her uncle gave everyone in the house revolver. I said, Shirley, would you really shoot me? She said, hell yeah. She's an honest woman. And they all, I love you. But I'm thinking, okay, they think I'm crazy. Now I'm gonna drive them crazy. So I called and I said, I'm out, and hung up. But my buddy, who was standing guard in the yard with a 38, they told him, give you $100 if you shoot that. I forgot there was kids there, I'm sorry.
They're fine.
So the cops come because they called the nut house, and they said, yeah, he's gone. And so they're going crazy. They're nuts out. So the cops come to the house. He's in the yard with the gun. They beat the Jesus out of him. He was mistaken for a nut. That's the proper way to go. You can't make this stuff up. They had to bail him out, and I'm sitting in a bar somewhere drinking beer and drinking pizza, eating pizza. But I was out. Am I supposed to shut up at any time?
No, you won't.
You all gotta remind me. So as luck would have it, but then I remember being strapped down, tied down, co-opted down, whatever they call it. And they said, what do you do if your nose itches? And then my nose started itching. They're doing it. And I... Have you ever made love to a man? I wasn't in the jail that much. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Oh, the guy who was supposed to shoot me, my wife was gone, and I wasn't going to look for her anymore. And he calls me. So the guy that was being paid to kill me calls me, because I had about 4 or 5 months sobriety at that time. And on the back of the Chicago directory is like this, 26,000 meetings a day or so. And I'm looking at the directory, oh, Jack, yeah. He says, they said you're not drinking. He said, could you help me? And I'm thinking, he's supposed to shoot me and I'm gonna help you. But in the back of the book, it says, well, anyone, anywhere. I didn't know if I could maintain sobriety. But when I said, yes, I'll pick you up at 7 o'clock, I knew it. I knew it. I didn't believe in him.